This podcast is hosted by Buzzsprout. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners. The team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. Join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message to the world. If you want an upgrade, Buzzsprout has tons of guides to help you find exactly what you need. We use Buzzsprout and it's a game changer for us. An all new analytics system helps us track who's listening to our show and where they're listening to it. If you'd like to use Buzzsprout as well, follow the link in our show notes to buzzsprout.com. And while you're there, let them know that Films and Fermentation sent you.
Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Deb.
And we host a pretty fun podcast called Today We Laughed and Learned. You know, this is where we discuss all the things we should have learned, but, well, never did. And we have quite a few laughs along the way.
Today we laughed and learned with Chris and Deb.
We're curious about everything, experts on nothing.
Come find us wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 119 of Films and Fermentation. This is the second episode of our 7th season. If you didn't listen to our season premiere, why not?
What the hell's wrong with you?
What's wrong
What
with
is
you?
wrong with you?
But at least you're here for the second episode of our 7th season, episode 119. It's actors who crushed it in their screen debut. Mike, it's debut, not the butt.
The butt.
Actors
That's-
crushing the butt, though. Come on.
And the butt.
We can do that on like the Valentine's Day episode if you want. Actors who crush the butt. That's right. We are Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
Mike.
We're just three friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit-faced. In this episode, we're going to be taking a look at actors who did so well in their debuts that you knew that they would be major stars for years to come. Now, the caveat to this is we are looking at actors who crushed it in their film debut, not people who started in TV and made their way to movies afterwards. For example, Robin Williams crushed it on Happy Days, which led to the spin-off series Mork and Mindy, but that was television, not movies. So we're only looking at movie actors here. Don't forget to drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. Yes, I said Twitter. I still refuse to call it X. You can support us on Patreon, or you can buy our merch at teespring.com. Please become part of the Films and Fermentation family.
Kevin needs new equipment.
I need new equipment. I think we should put ourselves on MySpace. I hear it's coming back.
MySpace. I actually think I'm going to take a look at it afterward just for shits and giggles. So what are we drinking this evening? I'm going to go first because I have a little story with mine. So I said, what would be
a
long time ago? Well, it actually is a long time ago because I was thinking to myself, what would be a good drink to have on an episode where we're talking about debuts? So I went all the way back to December 2020 and listened to episode 1 of Films and Fermentation.
Oh, God, please no.
Because I wanted to hear what I drank on that episode. And I had a Bombshell hard cider from Warhorse Brewery in the Finger Lakes. And the one that I had was like a fruit punch hard cider, which tasted a little bit like Hawaiian punch. And the first episode, we did movies from our youth, which is why I decided to drink the Hawaiian punch flavored drink. So I said, well, I'm going to go back to that. But I don't have that particular flavor. But I did have some Bombshell hard ciders in my fridge. So I'm drinking the Winterberry hard cider from Bombshell in Warhorse Brewery in the Finger Lakes. Got the nifty pinup on the front, like all the cans do. And this is a blueberry raspberry cider, which has a fairly similar taste to the fruit punch one that I drank before. But that was my story. I went all the way back and listened to episode 1, and thankfully, I only had to listen to like the first 5 minutes to find out what I drank. I didn't have to listen to the whole episode.
That would have been
Stellar
rough.
entertainment you missed out on.
If you are new to our show, I recommend starting from this episode and working your way back. Instead of starting from the beginning.
Continue listening. You don't want it to get progressively worse. You want it to get progressively better.
Yeah, if you'd like to do it the other way, start from like season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe like halfway through season 1.
Yeah, because season 1 has my rant about, X-Men in it. So
Yeah, that was episode 2.
I know, unfortunately.
Skip episode 1. Just go right to episode 2. So who else wants to tell me what they're drinking tonight?
I will go if you don't mind, Michael.
Go ahead.
This is a debut beer. This is actually one of these interesting things where you've invited people over. People bring different beers for you to try to see if you'll like them, and you don't always catch what they throw in the cooler or throw in the fridge. So this big bad boy. This is a 1 pint, 1.3.2 fluid ounces, 9% alcohol by volume. Sorry. This is Double Dale's Imperial IPA from Oscar Blues Brewery. Now, I've only had one type of beer from Oscar Blues Brewery. I think it was called 50 Cent. And it came out like motor oil. That's how thick it was. It's a good thing I'm off tomorrow because I'm pretty sure this will mess me up pretty bad. But this is a mystery beer, so it's a debut. Can't say whether or not it's going to make it, a grand slam or not, but I'll tell you in a moment. It's an IPA. It's an IPA.
It's an IPA. Michael, what you got going on?
So I went with something that I know crushed it in its debut, at least with us.
Yeah.
Anybody that's tried it, except for Adrian, of course, because you know how she is, has loved this whiskey from Old Smoky.
Mm-hmm.
It is the strawberry lemonade.
Nice.
On the rocks.
Strawberry lemonade's awesome. I love the strawberry lemonade. I almost killed that bottle you got me recently. It's like I only got like a little bit left of it. Mike, anything special happened this week?
This week in film history. In 1946, Foghorn Leghorn, Warner Brothers cartoon character created by Robert McKism and Warren Foster, Looney Tunes and Merry Melody series, first debuted in Walkie Talkie Hockey.
I say, that's a long time ago.
Come here, boy. What do you think you're doing with that thing?
I'm a chicken
Was
hawk.
that the one with the chicken hawk?
He's a
That's
chicken
the one
hawk.
with the little baby chicken hawk. Yep.
I think that's what Walkie Talkie Hockey's referring to.
Yeah.
I like Foghorn Leghorn. He was one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
I keep my feathers numbered just in case of emergencies.
I said, there's something wrong. There's something wrong at that point, right in the head. What else we got, Mike?
In 2009, the Walt Disney Company announced it will acquire Marvel Entertainment for $4.24 billion.
$1 billion.
And since that $4.24 billion acquisition, they've made enough to power a small third world country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that acquisition paid for itself already.
Yeah, right. Even with the money they're losing now with their recent stock, they still made out pretty well. What else we got?
In 2012, Argo, directed by Ben Affleck and starring Ben Affleck, Bryan Cranston, and John Goodman, premieres at the Telluride Film Festival. It got Best Picture in 2013.
I like that movie. I don't remember Bryan Cranston's character, but I do remember Alan Alda being in it, and I liked his small part.
I don't remember. I think Cranston might have been one of like the the Hollywood guys,
One of
not one of the hostages. Yeah,
Okay.
I remember it being an okay film. I don't know if it was deserving of Best Picture that year. It was entertaining. As with most things based on a true story, not exactly a true story. I mean, they changed a few things for the sake of making it dramatic and such. Speaking of Shawshank, the warden's in this film.
He's in everything.
Yeah. So yeah, it won the Oscar for Best Picture that year, and I'm just looking to see like who it beat out, because I'm pretty sure there was another film that year that I thought deserved it more. Of course, now it's not loading up because the internet hates me tonight.
Internet hates you.
Internet hates me. Let's see.
Don't hate him. Don't hate him.
Here we go. Argo was the winner, beating out. Oh, this is one of the years where they had 10 pictures.
Oh, Jesus.
It beat out Beasts of the Southern Wild, Les Miserables, Lincoln, Zero Dark 30, Amour, Django Unchained, Life of Pi, and Silver Linings Playbook.
Yeah, I don't think it deserved to win Best Picture. You went through the list, and I had 5 that were already. I mean, this was a good movie, but there were 5 that were better, in my opinion.
I think it might have benefited from like voting being scattered around the field.
Yeah.
Like I thought, Zero Dark 30 and Lincoln probably were 2 stronger choices that year.
Yeah, Life of Pi was good.
Life of Pi was pretty good. I like Les Miserables. I don't think it was deserving of Best Picture, but I'm glad it got nominated.
Mm.
And what's the last one you got there, Mike?
In 2018, A Star is Born film remake directed by and starring Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga premieres at the Venice Film Festival.
Pretty good adaptation of a movie that was already adapted like 4 or 5 times beforehand.
Yes, it's got to be remade every so many years.
Every 10 years it's got to be remade.
Yeah.
Depressing as all hell. Probably only have to watch it once. God knows if you haven't seen the movie, you at least heard the song "Shallows."
Shallow.
A million times. In the
You can't do that with a song just to make it work.
What? Add extra syllables to a word that's only 2? In the shallows.
That's the teacher in you. If you were a music teacher, you would say that was fine.
It's artistic license. Mike, do you have a must-try beer craft destination for us this evening?
Craft Destination Delaware. Dogfish Head Craft Brewing Company. This not to be missed craft destination has 3 alehouse locations: Gaithersburg, Maryland, Miami, Florida, and Falls Church, and Fairfax, Virginia. In addition to the company headquarters in Milton, they also have a brew pub and seafood restaurant in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, plus an inn at Lou's. Beers with unusual ingredients, think muscat grapes, honey, and saffron. Strong beers and distilled spirits of all kinds are offered from this unconventional brewery, now merged with Boston Beer Company.
Okay. I like Dogfish Head's like one of those kind of like hit or miss breweries for me, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think they had one that was called Midas Touch, which was pretty good, if I'm remembering correctly.
Is Dogfish Head the one that makes Raging Bitch?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I've had that one. I've had a few from them, like that. Some I like, some I didn't. As with most breweries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that takes us to Synopsis According to Glip. Synopsis According to Glip is brought to you by Newsly. Newsly.me is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android that'll read the news to you in a natural human voice. Stop scrolling. Start listening. Go to Newsly.me today and use the promo code ANDFERMENT to get your first month premium subscription for free. So, Glip, our recording program, has once again given us its synopsis of the previous week's episode. Last week was our 7th season premiere. We did one of our favorite topics, films that time forgot. I talked about The Day the Earth Stood Still. Mike talked about Legend, the 1985 film with Tom Cruise, and not the better film with Tom Hardy. And Kevin talked about The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. This is what Glip had to say about that episode. The speakers discussed late 18th century fantastical experiences, informal trilogies with director Terry Gilliam, Oscars for women, films and iconic lines. The participants discussed Nerds, Time Forgot series, Big Sleep, childhood depictions of depression, right recording equipment, and the popularity of the film on Rotten Tomatoes. As always, 100% accurate.
We do talk about recording equipment.
I mean, it again, it's like on the surface, it seems kind of weird, but at the underneath it all, it kind of got some things out of it. So the 18th century fantastical experiences was Baron Munchausen. You talked about how he had 2 previous films, Terry Gilliam, that kind of made up an informal trilogy. The Oscars for women, we were talking about Sarah Polley and how she's gone on to write behind the scenes more than act on screen. The films and iconic lines, I think, just is general for us in discussion. Yeah. Nerds, that's our we were doing our recording for the Fandalorians.
Yeah.
Time Forgot series, that's what the episode was. Big Sleep was what Mike talked about in the film history facts that week. Childhood depictions of depression was a holdover from the previous week, and we were talking about Inside Out.
That's because it was in the Glip. It was in the Glip.
It was in the Glip reading. Right recording equipment is something we joke about every week for, asking people to support us on Patreon so we could buy Kevin better equipment. And we were comparing things with Rotten Tomatoes again last week.
Yep.
So that was our synopsis according to Glip. All right. We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we'll be going into our main segment. Actors, not actors who crushed it in the butt, but actors who crushed it in their debuts. We'll be right back.
Hello, Spooklings.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Kathy.
And we're the hosts of the weekly podcast, All Hallows Eve Podcast.
We are a husband and wife duo with a passion for anything spooky, macabre, and true crime, sprinkled with our own twist of comedy.
We explore topics such as the history of Halloween, the Butcher of Plainfield, Hocus Pocus 2, urban legends, superstitions, and more.
So come join us as we go down the rabbit hole that is All Hallows Eve Podcast.
Listen and follow us at allhallowsevepodcast.com or your favorite podcast provider.
Stay spooky, my friends.
Hey movie lovers, it's Jackson here from the Back to the Blockbuster podcast. If you've ever wanted to hear an amateur cinephile and an industry professional chat about film and television, then look no further, because every week my co-host Gaius and I, we bring you the latest industry news, break down the most recent trailers, try to beat the box office with our weekly predictions, and dive into our favorite movies on their anniversaries. And every second Friday, you can look forward to the Back to the Blockbuster spin-off, Deep Dives with Owen and Gaius, where the duo dissects a movie of their own choice. All this and more wherever you get your podcasts.
We are back from our short break. I have switched to a new drink because I killed that other one really quickly. So I'm staying with the Bombshell. I unfortunately was out of the Winterberry one, so I went back to Bombshell Hard Cider Apple Cider. This is their original flavor, the one that started it all. And it is, I haven't had this in a while, it is tart.
Tart.
Quite tart, especially when you come from something fruity like the other one I drank. So our main segment tonight is actors crushing it in their debut films. So we're going to look at some actors who not only made an impression in the first movie that they were in, but they went on to have stellar careers afterwards. So we're going to look at the actor, tell you which film was their debut film, and why we thought they crushed it in that debut. And we can talk a little bit about some of the other movies that they've been in their career. And then for the hell of it, I also threw together a list of actors who disappeared after their film debut. So I thought it'd be kind of fun. So the first one I have on my list, one of the first ones that pops in my head all the time when I think about actors who crushed it in their debut is Natalie Portman. Her very first film was The Professional.
Yep.
Also known as Leon the Professional. in which she plays a young girl whose family is killed by a corrupt cop who is working in the drug trade. The corrupt cop is played by Gary Oldman in one of his way more over-the-top roles. And she seeks shelter with a professional hitman, played by French actor Jean Reno, who takes her under his wing and teaches her how to be tougher and protects her from these cops and all that stuff. And I put down the reason that she crushed it is because she is magnificent in this film. Like, for a 13-year-old kid in a movie as adult and intense as this is, she holds her own with all the other actors in the film. And I said she almost steals the movie, because for me, Gary Oldman stole the movie because he's so batshit crazy in it. But
Gary
she
Oldman
does
steals almost every movie he's in. So.
Yeah, but this is a particularly over the top. Like, you want to see a comparison of Gary Oldman roles? Watch him play the cop in this film, and then watch him play Gordon in The Dark Knight. And it is two completely separate roles. But then you look at Natalie Portman in this film, and then her second movie is one of my favorites. It's called Beautiful Girls. She made it the same year that she made The Professional, and she steals that movie for sure. And then she goes on to have an Oscar-winning career, winning the Oscar for Black Swan, starring in hundreds of films now. Still at a very young age, a lot of movies. Of course, we know her from the Star Wars prequel trilogy, in which she definitely phoned it in. Not a highlight of her career. That's bad.
Well, I mean, she phoned it. She phoned in the script that George Lucas gave her. You know, something tells me it wasn't her who was just like,
Of course, younger audiences might recognize her now as Jane Foster in the Thor films. Always an incredible actress, gorgeous actress. Even some of the films that are not my favorite films, she does a great job in. So I can't say that Natalie Portman did not crush it in her debut.
Nope.
She also crushes it on SNL when she does her rap song segments.
I really liked her in Garden State. That was one of my favorite favorite characters that she did.
That's a Zach Braff film. But it's it's an indie film, so it doesn't get a lot of play. I remember, like, after she did The Professional and Beautiful Girl, she got thrown into a bunch of really saccharine sort of schmaltzy stories for a while. And then she did the Star Wars films, and that kind of brought her back into the limelight. And from
Didn't
there,
she have one that she did that was a little more risque?
Yeah, she did one with Clive Owen where she played a stripper. Yeah, Closer.
Yeah.
That was that was around the time that she did the Star Wars films, I think.
Right. And V for Vendetta. Closer came out in 2000. Yeah.
V for Vendetta is a great movie, and she's awesome in it.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I forgot about V for Vendetta. Yeah, I should probably have IMDb up here so we can look at some film roles for different people. Second one on my list, I think, is one that nobody will argue with me was not a screen debut that killed, both literally and figuratively. Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber in Die Hard.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Like when he's on the phone with the cops and he's telling them to let all these different people out of prison, and he's like, the Brothers of the New Dawn, and the one terrorist guy's like, I read about them in Time magazine. He was awesome in that film, and it's crazy too because he was like in his 40s, I think, when he got his first film.
Late start. He's like Samuel L. Jackson, and I'm not saying his debut was great, but he didn't really start the acting until he was in his 40s.
Same thing with Morgan Freeman. Like Morgan Freeman was on Electric Factory in the 70s, a few TV shows. Didn't have his first major movie role till the mid 80s. He was about 40 years old as well. So see, there's still time. Still time for the three of us to become major movie stars.
But Alan Rickman stole every movie he was ever in too. There's another one that steals all his movies.
Well, Alan Rickman is because he has such a particular cadence to the way he talks and a voice that's so recognizable. I mean, that's why he kills it.
Hello,
and
Alan Rickman. This
yeah,
is Alan
Alan
Rickman,
Rickman.
reminding you to pick up the rice.
Like even when he does the caterpillar in the Alice in Wonderland films, not great movies, but his voice work is phenomenal, and it's like you know that caterpillar is Alan Rickman.
You mean like the robot?
Yeah, like Marvin in
Marvin.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Not that anyone's asking about me.
So yeah, he did some TV, but nothing that really stood out. It wasn't until he did Die Hard, his first major film release, 1988, that he took off. And from there, he did the January Man, Quigley Down Under, a very underrated B film.
Yeah.
Truly Madly
Deeply. Was actually a decent.
I think the next film that kind of like he stole it is Robin Hood.
Yeah. I'll cut his heart out with a spoon. Why a spoon, cousin? Because it's blunt. It'll hurt more.
He showed he had a romantic side when he did Sense and Sensibility with was it Emma Thompson?
Emma Thompson.
He played Rasputin in a TV film. He was in Michael Collins. He was in Dogma. Don't forget Dogma.
Quest.
Don't forget Dogma, where he plays
Metatron.
He
was the Metatron, right?
Metatron and Dogma. Then in
He's the voice of God.
I love about Galaxy Quest is he plays this character who's a Shakespearean actor who hates the fact that he was on a sci-fi show and has to wear this head prosthetic, but never takes it off the entire movie. Even when he's home alone in his apartment, he still has the head prosthetic on. I thought that was an amazing choice. So many movies. There's a lot that I haven't seen. I have to go back and visit my Alan Rickman IMDb here. And then I think younger audiences, of course, would know him best from the Harry Potter films as Severus Snape. Again, stealing scenes left and right in those films. And one of my favorite movies, Love Actually, where he plays Emma Thompson's cheating husband.
And we got to hear his singing chops in Sweeney Todd.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, everybody singing in Sweeney Todd was not exactly singers. They just had the right voice for that type of musical.
True.
God, I love Alan Rickman. I miss him, man. Underrated, I think, as an actor, because I feel like he never got an Oscar nomination. He probably should have for at least one of his roles.
Yeah.
The next one I have is The Birth of a Scream Queen, and that is Jamie Lee Curtis, whose first movie ever was John Carpenter's Halloween. And she recently won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress for Everything Everywhere All at Once. So a career that has spanned decades. Not to mention, she was the spokesperson for the yogurt that makes you poop.
Oh yeah, probiotics.
Probiotics.
I love a good probiotic.
Yeah, she did Halloween, then The Fog, then Prom Night, then Terror Train.
He was in Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd.
And True
Lies.
True Lies.
She had that great dancing.
A Fish Called Wanda.
Fish Called Wanda. She's great in that movie too. I love that movie. I gotta rewatch that again.
That's a great movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Blue Steel was an underrated movie, I think. My Girl.
And she was on not American Horror Story. What's the other one that Ryan Murphy did that was like a Scream Queens? He had a series called Scream Queens. It was like a side hustle for him. She was on that for a little while.
I thought that might have been a reality show.
Scream Queens?
I guess I'm wrong. Yeah.
There was.
I'm probably wrong.
I don't know. No, it was a anthology show similar to American Horror Story, but it focused on a group of like young girls, like the kind of characters you would see in horror films.
Okay.
And she
we
played.
Can't forget she was in Knives Out.
Knives Out. Oh, Knives Out's a great movie too, man. Yeah. She's like understated because she's done so many friggin' movies, and a lot
she does
of them,
a lot of TV shows too.
A lot of TV shows, and a lot of them she's just a character actor. Like she comes on, does a few scenes, she kills it, and then she moves on to the next project. You know, I was surprised when
late-
she won the Oscar. I thought the Oscar this year was going to go to Angela Bassett for Wakanda Forever. So I was happy she won, but kind of shocked that she won too.
And her latest project would have been the Haunted Mansion, as she plays Madame Leota.
The new one with Rosario Dawson and Owen Wilson.
Yep.
Did they bring back Eddie Murphy for that movie?
No.
Hell no.
They didn't bring anybody back from that other fucking movie. The next one is another actress. Badass is born in this film. Sigourney Weaver's first movie role, Alien.
Oh, God.
I was shocked to see that was her premiere film role.
Woman.
I thought she had done other things. But I think she was more like a stage actor before doing Alien. But, I mean, she goes from Alien, she does Aliens in the 80s, Ghostbusters 2, Galaxy Quest with Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
I can't forget that. Now she's like kind of like an elder statesman actress where she just kind of pops up in cameo roles in movies all the time. Or does like the voice of the computer in WALL-E.
As herself.
She was in
As herself.
Which one was it? She was in the Defenders
Radio right now.
for Marvel.
Mm-hmm. She has a cameo in Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Mm-hmm. I like her in Dave. Do you guys remember Dave?
Dave is a great movie. Yeah, with
Dave's
Kevin
a
Kline.
fantastic movie. Yeah.
It's a fun movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's as feel good a movie about a man playing a man who dies anyway as could be. Yeah.
But he's a president, and you know, you see how he's being puppeted.
She did
an Avatar.
She's an Avatar. She did the Alien, other Alien sequels that really aren't worth mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Village.
The Village. Oh, she was in one of my favorite horror films, Cabin in the Woods. Again, it's another walk-on cameo role where she only has a few lines, but it's like a great part. What else? I'm looking. WALL-E. She's the voice of the computer.
Finding Dory.
Finding Dory.
Sigourney Weaver's voice.
Oh, she's
That's
the voice of
Sigourney
the.
Weaver.
She's the voice of the theme park, of the water park. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like she's becoming like the female Morgan Freeman, just lending her voice to everything. She did a couple. She's the voice of the ship in Futurama, the TV show Futurama. You ever see Heartbreakers with Jennifer Love Hewitt and Sigourney Weaver? Not a great movie.
Oh yes, I did. They're con women.
Mm-hmm. That was one of my. That was like the start of my Jennifer Love Hewitt crush in the '90s. What else was she in? So many things here, man.
Chappie, not a great movie.
Yeah, there's Dave. I said Working Girl with Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Harrison Ford and
he was in Melanie Griffith.
Yeah,
she was in Gorillas in the Mist.
Yes.
She played Diane Fossey, the woman who studied gorillas in Africa. Man, I mean, I'm looking at like some major films in her IMDb, but yeah, like crazy that Alien was the first one.
She was in Pepsi. Have a Pepsi Day.
Yeah, she was a Pepsi model. Whatever that means.
Yeah, no idea.
I cheated a little bit with this one because I said I wasn't doing TV shows. But Eddie Murphy got his start on SNL and not in like a particular like a TV sitcom or anything like that. But his comic legacy begins with his first film, which is 48 Hours, which led to a lot of his like the stand-up specials that crushed right after that, with Beverly Hills Cop coming right after that.
Right.
He kind of owned the 80s, Eddie Murphy.
Oh yeah.
Is it
The
Golden Child?
Two.
Is that the right
You don't
name?
mention
He
three.
did The Golden Child.
Right.
He did Coming to America.
Not a great movie.
Beverly Hills Cops 2.
Going to America.
I actually like the Golden. People shit on the Golden Child all the time. I actually like that movie. Not a great film, but I like it.
Shrek.
How could you forget the Donk?
or
Look at
Mushu.
me, I'm
The great-
sexy.
Now,
She
one of
called
the
me
movies I
Double
love him in,
Speed.
Great and powerful Mushu.
the one of the movies I love him in is Harlem Heat, or Harlem Nights.
Harlem Nights is a good movie. Yeah, it's kind of underrated comedy.
He shot off my pinky toe.
And then he did a Haunted Mansion, and it all went downhill.
I don't know if that's where he went downhill, but
I mean,
Dr.
he did have
Doolittle didn't help anything.
He did the second one definitely didn't do anything. I think it was also, he started doing a lot of like crappy sequels to movies that did well. So like he did A Nutty Professor, which was pretty funny,
True.
and then he does The Clumps right after that.
Right.
Like he did
both
Dr. Doolittle. Dr. Doolittle was okay, but it was successful enough that they did a sequel. Bowfinger is actually a pretty good movie, and pretty funny movie, with Steve Martin. He did have an Oscar nom late in his career for Dreamgirls,
Yes.
for Best Supporting Actor, but he's kind of like disappeared again since then.
Because then he turned around and did Norbert.
Yeah, and did a couple Netflix movies recently, but that's about it.
A lot of the stuff he comes back and does the donkey's voice and stuff.
Yeah,
after that,
I mean, there's been 87 Shrek films, so.
One of my favorite movies of his is Bowfinger.
Mm-hmm.
I think
it's good. It's
underappreciated.
Underappreciated. It's another film where he plays multiple roles.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Martin's good in that film.
Mm-hmm.
The next one on my list is Anna Paquin, whose first film was The Piano. And at the time, she was the youngest ever Oscar winner, winning Best Supporting Actress for that film. She was like 11 or 12 at the time. She then went on to be in the X-Men films, playing Rogue, and a long stint on the TV series True Blood, and still makes appearances in TV and films today.
I liked her when she was still younger. I liked her in the movie called Fly Away Home.
Is that the one with the birds?
The geese,
The geese, yeah.
The geese that they raise, and they need to kind of teach how to fly south or migrate. So
that, I think, was like kind of right after she won the Oscar, because it's always like a thing like the kid wins an Oscar, and then they kind of just start throwing him in any movie they could throw him in.
Yeah, it was 3 years after The Piano.
So like Piano was her first film. She wins the Oscar, kind of surprisingly too. Then she was in Jane Eyre, Fly Away Home. She was in Amistad, She's All That with Freddie Prinze Jr. Walk on the Moon, X-Men in 2000. She was in Almost Famous. I forgot that. Yeah. She was one of the groupies.
Roadies, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great
Finding
movie.
Forrester.
Finding Forrester, that's a pretty good movie. Darkness, which was her first stint in horror films. Then the X-Men 2, Squid and the Whale, Joan of Arc, X-Men The Last Stand. This is a good film if you've never seen it. 2007, Trick or Treat. It's a horror film, but it's like an anthology. It's like 4 or 5 different stories that all take place in this little town, but are all kind of thread together by one general theme. And she plays a woman going to a Halloween party dressed as Little Red Riding Hood, and you find out she and all her friends are actually werewolves.
Oh, Jesus.
It's pretty good. It's called Trick or Treat. Then she started in True Blood. She was in one of the Scream sequels. And then has kind of been in and out of various films and TV shows for the last decade or so. Her last major role was, she was in The Irishman with De Niro and Pesci and Pacino.
Yeah.
TV show called The Affair. And her last acting role, she has a movie coming out this year called True Spirit.
Yeah.
So.
Coming out, I think it already came out.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Next one I have is Ed Norton. His first film role was in the film Primal Fear, and he received the first of 2 supporting acting Oscars for his role in this movie. Great twist ending. Great twist ending. If you've never seen this film, have either of you guys seen Primal Fear?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, great twist ending. Great fucking twist ending. The twist ending all has to do with his character, and he does an amazing job. I think his career has been hurt a little bit from his reputation that he has of being like difficult to work with.
Taking
especially
over the movie.
taking over the movie, like rewriting scripts and things like that. But I don't take it away from his ability as an actor because I do think he's a great actor. I liked him in Primal Fear. He was great in Birdman with Michael Keaton.
Fight Club.
Fight Club, of course.
He became one of Wes Anderson's pets.
Yeah, he's definitely a Wes Anderson guy. I liked him in I like the Italian Job. That's not a great movie, but I liked it.
Yeah, it's all right.
Him and Mark Wahlberg and Charlize Theron and all. All right, I'm going to start flying through some of these a little bit. Next one I have is Julie Andrews. I did not realize that Mary Poppins was Julie Andrews' first movie role.
No, neither would I.
Again, she's somebody who I thought had been around for a while before that, but this was she was again a stage actress, especially in England on the West End, and then she got the role of Mary Poppins, which garnered her an Oscar for Best Actress in her very first movie role. And a legend is born because she goes on to do Sound of Music right after that, a number of musicals. I mean, that was the majority of her early career was musicals. She's in one of my favorite, like kind of lesser known films from the 80s. It's called Victor Victoria, where she plays a woman trying to make it in the music industry in Paris in the early 1900s. So she pretends to be a man pretending to be a woman. So she's a woman pretending to be a man pretending to be a woman. And it kind of and then comedy ensues from there. She's been in all the Princess Diary films later in her career with Anne Hathaway. Still kicking it up.
Enchanted. Despicable Me. Aquaman.
Who? Aquaman. Did you say Aquaman?
Catherine. Yeah.
Voice of Carathan.
I haven't seen Aquaman, so I had no idea that Julie Andrews did a voice in Aquaman.
Yeah, neither did I.
Wow.
Oh, I forgot she was in Despicable Me as Gru's mom.
Yeah, she's Gru's mom.
Here's the one that made her. Tooth Fairy.
Tooth Fairy?
Tooth Fairy.
With The Rock?
2010.
Are you talking about the movie with The Rock?
Yes, movie with The Rock, Tooth Fairy.
I did not know Julie. I guess Julie Andrews is not above taking a paycheck. I did not know she was in that movie. I had no interest in seeing The Rock and Tooth Fairy.
With Seth MacFarlane as well.
Jesus.
Ashley Judd.
Next one I have on the list is Orson Welles. He had started his career as a radio actor mainly on the Mercury radio show. He's the voice behind the War of the Worlds scare in 1929. But then he would go on to write, direct, and star in his very first film, Citizen Kane. This, again, is another one I was stammered to find out that this was his first movie role. Because, like I said, he wrote, directed, and starred in it, received Oscar nominations for all of those things, and went on to a legendary career afterwards. And this movie is often cited as the greatest movie ever made on a number of film critic lists. Of course, later in his career, he would be hurting for money and do anything from commercials for frozen peas to the voice of Unicron in the Transformers cartoon movie. But it's hard to not call it a crushing debut when your first film is Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
Next one I have is Jamie Bell, whose first movie role is Billy Elliot. Billy Elliot's like the little indie film that could. Kevin, you have seen Billy Elliot, right?
I have. The boy that wants to dance.
Yes, he wants to be a ballerina.
Yes, and I believe his father has words about it.
His father wants him to take up boxing.
Yes.
His father, of course, played by Colm Meaney, best known as Chief O'Brien on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
O'Brien. For playing a hard ass.
Jamie Bell would go on to a career that includes films like Snowpiercer, Jumper. The shitty Fantastic Four film.
Rocket Man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Billy Elliot though. That's a movie I haven't seen in a while. It's a really good film. Haley Steinfeld, who received a supporting actress nomination for her first film, the reboot of True Grit. Typically, I always say I'm not a big fan of reboots, but the True Grit reboot is really, really good.
It's really good.
It was Coen Brothers, wasn't it?
It was Jeff Bridges played Rooster Cogburn, and it was directed by the Coen brothers, I believe.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
And she's great in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing in it. It has a very funny role from Matt Damon in the film.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as like remakes go, this is a really good remake and a good debut for her. She would go on to do a couple of the Pitch Perfect films. A very
The Edge of 17.
The Edge of 17, great
funny,
movie.
Funny movie.
Very underrated comedy. She's on the Hawkeye series on Disney Plus now.
Mm-hmm. As Kate Bishop.
So she's still young, still has a hell of a career ahead of her.
Yeah, she took on the role, and she took on the role of Charlie in Bumblebee. Transformers, which hopefully will not kill her career.
Well, that was
actually no. I think she's
survived.
Got Gwen Stacy in the Spider-Verse movies.
Mm-hmm. She's the voice of Spider-Gwen. Yeah. Keeping in line with John Wayne, John Wayne's first film was Stagecoach. Mike, need I say more about John Wayne?
The only thing you should say is his last movie, The Shootist, wasn't great, but it, I believe, had the movie debut for one Richie Cunningham.
Yeah, for Ron Howard.
Ron Howard.
The Shootist might not have been that great, but it was better than Genghis Khan. Not as good as True Grit. Not as good as The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
Rooster Cogburn.
Not as good as like Rio Grande. Not as good as The Searchers. But definitely
better
better.
than Tie Yellow Ribbon.
Definitely better than Genghis Khan.
She wore Yellow Ribbon.
She wore Yellow Ribbon. Yeah.
That was part of the trilogy that the unofficial trilogy of Fort Apache. She wore Yellow Ribbon and Rio Grande.
Mm-hmm.
That
and
was
he
John
would win.
Ford.
He would win the Oscar, of course, for Rooster Cogburn and True Grit.
Yep.
Anya Taylor-Joy, she's everywhere now, but got her start in the movie The Witch, or as it looks on the movie poster, The Vivitch. The Vivitch would go on to garner her a role in Split, the M. Night Shyamalan film that brought him back to the scene. And then from there, she just exploded. She was like everything. She was in the New Mutants film. She was in what's the one she did recently?
The Queen's Gambit.
The Queen's Gambit series on Netflix. The film she did with Matt Smith and
Soho.
Last Night in Soho.
That was a good movie too. Yeah.
That was pretty interesting. The Menu, which I can't stop talking about. I love that fucking movie.
And don't forget Princess Peach.
And the voice of Princess Peach in the Mario Brothers film.
She was also in one with what's her name from not Red Dragon. Why am I House of the Dragon? Oh God, hold on. Thoroughbreds. I watched that about a month ago, 2 months ago. Very good movie.
Okay, I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you guys watch the New Mutants?
Mm-hmm.
I have not watched
Magic.
It's worth a watch. Like, I thought it was good for not being a MCU movie.
Okay.
And she is killer as Ileana.
Well, she's pretty killer in everything.
Around.
So
they still tap danced around the whole Mr. Sinister thing, you know.
They did, and they also stole, the dragon from Kitty Pryde. So,
all right, this is not going to turn into an X-Men episode again.
Why not? We've talked about a couple X-Men already.
Yeah. From the X-Men to the not so X-Men, Robert Duvall.
Great actor.
One of the greatest actors of all time.
Anything he's in.
Started in To Kill a Mockingbird as Boo Radley, a role that was a non-speaking role for him, but a role where he kind of stole the scenes anyway that he was in because of his look and his facial expressions and manners and everything. So he went from a non-speaking role to being pretty much Hollywood royalty. He's an Oscar winner himself. He's been in The Godfather 1 and 2. He's in one of my favorite
He
bad
still looks
films.
the same as he did when he first started.
Yeah, he's got a very gruff
Oh.
appearance. He is in one of my favorite bad movies that I love to watch, Gone in 60 Seconds, with Nick Cage, Kevin's favorite actor.
Oh yeah.
What was that?
Robert Duvall. What's that?
You see, I liked them, and it was a movie, and this is a movie my mother liked, but I mean, watching it, I liked it too. It's called something Lions.
Secondhand Lions.
Secondhand Lions.
Yeah, that was
He
him.
was
And,
him and Michael Caine.
Michael Caine and Haley Joel Osment.
And Haley Joel Osment. Mm-hmm.
I should have put Haley Joel Osment on this list. Although his career really hasn't, done much since then. So
I really liked him in it was a TV miniseries called Lonesome Dove.
Was it Lonesome Dove, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was in. I'm looking at some recent things that he was in. He wasn't in too many recent films that I've seen. I think he's kind of retired, like informally, from acting recently.
His last one was in 2022.
The last major one I remember him in was The Judge, which was with Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
He was in Crazy Heart, The Road,
He was in
which is
Phenomenon.
Yeah, Phenomenon. 4 Christmases. Yeah. Secondhand Lions. That's the one you were talking about.
That's the one I really liked it, and my mom was like, "You should check this out," and I did. It was I could appreciate it. It's not a Academy Award winner, but it was very good.
He was in Deep Impact. He was the astronaut, and they were sending to try to
publicity stunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he is an Oscar winner for the film. I think it was Tender Mercies was the name of the film. I'm trying to bring it up, but of course it's going really slow. He has an Oscar win for Tender Mercies, Best Actor in a Leading Role. That was in 1984. Next one I got here is Tatum O'Neal, who starred in the film Paper Moon. She won the Oscar for Supporting Actress at 9 years old. At the time, she was the youngest actor to win an Oscar. And what's notable about that is she stole the film from her father and co-star Ryan O'Neal, who wrote and starred in the film as a vehicle for himself, casting his daughter, and then she steals the film, and it became a point of contention between the two of them for like the rest of their lives. But I'm gonna move. Oh, Tatum O'Neal went on to be in the Bad News Bears after that too.
Yeah.
Saoirse Ronan, one of my favorites, started her career in the film Atonement with Keira Knightley and James McAvoy. But has since gone on to be an actress who can hold a movie on her own now, too, like Lady Bird. I said, I'll watch a whole movie of her just drinking a cup of tea. Whoopi Goldberg, shockingly, her first role was a dramatic one in The Color Purple.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember her telling a story about being called into Spielberg's office. And she says, he wants to offer her a role in this film that he's doing, The Color Purple. And she's like, I'm a comedian, right? Not a dramatic actress. And he was sure that she could play the role. But for her audition, he had her do part of her stand-up act in his office for him. And she landed the role, and she got an Oscar nomination for it. That led me to Lupita Nyong'o, who was in 12 Years a Slave and won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress for her first film role. She would go on to star in a number of other films, particularly the Jordan Peele films, Us and Nope. And she is the voice of Maz Kanata in the new Star Wars series.
Which I think that character should have had a larger role, or a larger part.
I think it was meant to have a larger role, but then when you got all the shit going on between Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams and all the retcons and rewrites, it kind of got put to the side. But it was definitely supposed to have, because she was supposed to explain at some point where she got Luke's lightsaber from.
Right, exactly.
Next, I have Kirsten Dunst. Her first film role was The Interview with a Vampire, where she shares a screen kiss with Brad Pitt at 12 years old. Brad Pitt was 50.
50.
And then
He's
you got Tom
a
Cruise
celebrity
with her, too.
vampire. He never ages. And Tom Cruise is in that film. I like Interview with the
She
Vampire.
went on. I like
I do. I thought
Kirsten
it was
Dunst.
it's a very good movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then she went on to, of course, be in the original Spider-Man films with Tobey Maguire.
When she shared the kiss with Tobey Maguire upside down.
Upside Down, yes. Best Kiss Award at the MTV Movie Awards. And then
He was in the Little Women.
Little Women.
Version that only my wife really. That's her version. And it's like, there's other. Nope.
She made a comeback recently too. She was in The Power of the Dog, which she received her very first Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's hard to beat your being 12 years old and your first movie, you're kissing Brad Pitt.
She was in Jumanji.
She was in Jumanji.
Mm-hmm.
She had a pretty substantial child career.
Yeah,
before,
her child career went pretty well. Then
Mm-hmm.
she was in Dick. She got Dick.
And then she kind of disappeared for a little while.
Well, that's because she did The Crow Salvation.
Well, she did some theater, some TV, things like that, and then came back with The Power of the Dog. And then I have Matthew McConaughey, whose first film is Dazed and Confused. What can I say but all right. Who'd have thought the man would have the career he had when he played a role where one of his lines was, "The thing I love about teenage girls is I keep getting older and they stay the same age." And then he, of course, would go on to win the Oscar for Dallas Buyers Club. There's a great cameo in The Wolf of Wall Street. And I just recently watched, I don't know if either of you guys have seen this series before, True Detective on HBO. So
no, I haven't seen it yet.
It's a 3 seasons, and each season it follows different actors playing different characters at different times. And the first season follows him and Woody Harrelson as detectives investigating a ritual murder in Louisiana in the 90s. And it came out in 2014, and I'd never watched it before. And then I saw scrolling through HBO Max the other day, and I was like, you know what? I always wanted to check the show out. I might as well watch it. And I finished it in 2 days. It was so freaking good. It was amazing. Him and Woody Harrelson are fucking incredible in that show. So that leads me to the last part of tonight, which is 5 actors who disappeared after their memorable first movie roles. Starting with one of my favorites, a kid who was discovered on a playground. And that kind of explains why his career didn't go anywhere after this. Eddie Furlong. Eddie Furlong, whose very first movie role was Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Where is he now? He's at home washing his tights.
Actually, that reminded me of something I saw the other day. It was posted on the 29th that on August 29th at 2-something in the morning, Skynet became aware.
Yeah, I know, right? I saw something like that earlier today, that it was like recently.
So we are in the age of Terminator now, guys.
Well, we are in the age of AI, so I'm guessing they may just, didn't account for daylight savings because it's happening.
Yes.
Hey, he's still doing things, Eddie Furlong. I didn't know that, but he's still making movies. Nothing that I've heard of, but he's there. I'm looking at his IMDb, and most of the movies are somewhere between 3 and 4 stars out of 10. So, I threw this one on here from Mike George Lazenby, who was James Bond in Her Majesty's Secret Service, one and done as James Bond. That's what happens when you get a man whose career was as a male model and try to make him James Bond.
Yeah.
Peter Ostrom played Charlie in the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory with Gene Wilder. He gave up acting afterwards and became a veterinarian later in life.
Wow.
He's taking care of the Oompa Loompas.
Yeah, he's actually a farm veterinarian. He takes care of farm animals. Zach Gallagher from Gremlins 1 and 2, that's about it.
That's about it.
I couldn't tell you any other movie that Zach Gallagher was in aside from Gremlins 1 and 2. And even looking at his IMDb, I don't know any of the other movies that he was in besides Gremlins 1 and 2. And then lastly, Jake Lloyd, who played young Anakin in The Phantom Menace. Unfortunately, the kid was bullied out of Hollywood by the fanboys.
That's a shame.
It's a shame. I mean, I don't blame the kid. I blame the fact that Lucas had to cast somebody who was unknown because that's like his thing. And the dialogue wasn't great. The kid didn't have a lot of experience as an actor.
Right.
Yeah, Jar Jar fucking Binks. And I feel bad. Like the kid got so much flack from Star Wars fans that eventually he was like, "Fuck it, I'm done."
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, there was a meme on about how the fans were yelling that you ruined Star Wars, and like the guy comes back. I think it's Vader. No, you ruined fucking
you
Star
ruined Star Wars, not us.
Not us.
So, Mike, do you have any beer trivia or history or anything for us this evening?
Got some beer history. By the 13th century, the English town of Burton-on-Trent had become famous for its pale ales, having learned that the local water supply was particularly suited to this hoppy, fruity style that was brewed nearby by the Wetmore Order of Monks. Burton-on-the-Trent would go on to become the foremost producer of a style most people are familiar with today, the IPA.
Boo.
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 So
I was still drinking my IPA.
Yeah. How are our drinks this evening, gentlemen?
It's an IPA.
I can't say.
It's still smashing the butt.
I was going to say Mike's not going to complain about his because I wouldn't complain about what he's drinking because I like it too. And I can't complain about what I had because, again, it's one of my favorite breweries, one of my favorite hard ciders, Warhorse Brewery in the Finger Lakes at Lake Seneca. And it's their bombshell hard cider. I had the apple cider tonight, and I had the blueberry raspberry cider called Winterberry. So thank you, everybody, for joining us for episode 119. Actors who crushed it in the butt. I'm sorry, I meant to say crushed it in their film debuts. We hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Don't forget, you can email us at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or find all of our social media and podcast links at linktree.com/filmsandfermentation. We have our own official website as well. It's filmsandfermentation.weebly.com. That's films, the word and fermentation altogether, .weebly.com. You can also support us on Patreon or buy our merch at teespring.com. Become part of the Films and Fermentation family. Don't forget to stop by the crossroads between Pickled and Fermented next week as we present episode 120. 120 episodes. That's going to be our Labor Day special, mostly because we're recording it the week of Labor Day. And what we're going to look at on that episode is we're going to take a look at some of the best blue-collar performances in cinema. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
Thank you again for joining us, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh my God.
There's like a whole process, so I got it done. So we don't have to pause and restart now. So,
are there any additional features that come from the?
From what I saw, it had like a few like extra things, nothing like super special.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing is
unlimited time.
We have unlimited recordings, and we can have up to 200 people in a show at one time if we want.
Wow.
Jesus Christ. That would be a fucked up show.
The free version was only 100.
Everybody from Lord of the Rings, including the orcs.
I know.
So, I told you something wrong the other night, guys.
Okay.
When we were doing our Star Trek episode, I realized it last night when I finished season 1 of Brave or Strange New Worlds. I told you it was Captain Kirk's father on the Enterprise. It's his brother.
His brother, right? Yeah,
I
haven't watched the show, but I saw something about it, like on an article somewhere. So
it's his brother Sam.
Sam Kirk.
Yeah, Sam Kirk, who was mentioned in the original series and died off camera. Never made it on camera.
Poor
he never made it on camera.
Samwise Kirkish.
Samwise Kirk.
You guys, have you guys caught up on Ahsoka?
Yes, I have. Man, it's been really good.
Oh God, it's been real good.
It's been so good.
I love Tennant as a robot too.
Yeah, Tennant's voice as the robot is great.
Was he the original robot in
no,
Clone Wars?
No.
No?
It wasn't him, no.
Nope.
He's awesome, though. I think
Chopper's great.
Chopper's funny. Rosario Dawson's great.
Mm-hmm.
I like the actress they got to play Sabine.
Oh, yeah.
She's pretty good. She's really, The one, Hera, that's Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yeah.
She's
married to Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yes, she is. Yeah,
There was a post. I was going to say that. There was a post showing him, Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan, her as Ahsoka, says his wife.
No, his wife is Hera.
Miss Hera.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was his niece or somebody else played something in Obi-Wan. And his uncle
his uncle's Wedge Antilles.
Is Wedge Antilles.
The actor played Wedge Antilles.
That's
his uncle.
So actually, Star Wars is a story of the McGregor clan fucking up the universe.
Yeah, right? He had a great scene in that episode where she's meeting with the senators on the hologram. And she says to the one senator, "Were you ever in the war, senator?" And he's like, "No." She's like, "So you were just waiting to see who the winning side was, so you can." Or she said, "Waiting to see who won, so you can pick a side." I was like, "Damn."
Who won, yeah.
She don't hold back. Hera never held back.
God damn. Hey, everybody. Welcome to. Wait, hold on. Let me make sure we're recording.
Yeah, it says recording. We've been recording for 17
we're
minutes.
Recording. Okay, yeah. I turned it on. As soon as I paid the bill, I turned it on. Names have been slightly changed to protect the innocent.
Oh, wait a minute.
I am living rent-free in her head right now.
So here's another question for you.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening!